Welcome to the first game of today. We have Ninjas in Pyjamas up against SCARZ for a shot to be in phase 3. Now we're gonna break this one down, starting off with Ninjas in Pyjamas, because it felt like seeing them throughout these phases, adaptability has been key to how they've been performing.
Oh yeah, and I was really impressed by their game yesterday, more so their defenses than their attacks, or at least how they started on attacks, because on their defenses they made it so difficult for the opposing team to really spot out where they were hiding, to really utilize their time and defending positions well. And on their attacks, once they get to that, this team will either commit to these funky 5-man rushes, and then even if it goes wrong, they will still hard commit. And if that doesn't work out, they can still adapt and do these more, normal takes with 5 operators, clearing the map, taking their time. And they said in interviews, they've been studying this Virtus Pro play style, they've been bringing that out a little bit, and I feel like it's been working for them.
Okay, well, adaptability seems to be key, but also when we're looking at individual players, Jesse, they are just as important to these games.
Absolutely, and I think there's been a couple from both these teams that I wanted to highlight, that I want to talk about. Specifically for NIP, I think Wizard has quickly become one of my favorite players on NIP, and I like that you brought up those explosive pushes, because they really do like to go for these all-in, rapid fire, everyone's committed all at once, and I think that's where he's really been able to shine. He likes playing that Dokkaebi, he likes playing these kind of roam clear flank watch operators, and I think the ways that he can be a little bit more active, that's when he's really finding that, that strength, playing on the Doke, getting in, finding some success. And then you look at the other team, you look at D+ Kia, their Doke player, I think, has had a little bit more of struggles. Pyeon is obviously playing that role for them. He's been the guy to try to pinch in, try to find some of those support to help their entries like Rek get into the building. But I do feel like, at least at the start of the Swiss phase, he was finding some struggles. Oftentimes on those aggressive operators, he was falling early. He's gotten better though, right? Last couple of games, he's really started to step up his game. He was positive in their last match against D+ Kia, so I'm excited to see that improvement continue from him, and hopefully that can result in some good round wins for SCARZ.
Yeah, speaking about SCARZ, what are we expecting from their side of things?
I feel like the good thing is, you mentioned Pyeon, right? But he has a good set of teams or set of players around him that can really help him and support that. Rek has been having a really good game yesterday with those nades, super effective. Washoy as well in those last few rounds, super effective on the flanks. And I feel like this is something that SCARZ did really well in their game yesterday. They really spotted out the defensive gaps in the playstyle of D+, where they had these holes that no one was watching on the side of D+, or they had these players in really, really vulnerable positions, and SCARZ took advantage of that very well.
Yeah, well, we have the veto coming through as well, because we now know what maps we're going to be looking at. And surprise, surprise, it's going to be Skyscraper. Looking at Skyscraper specifically, are we feeling like this is potentially favoring one of the teams?
Not a lot of plays from both of these squads. This is an uncommon map. NIP only one play so far this year. That was the first match of the LCQ to beat Black Dragon 7-5, not terrible. SCARZ, a 2-1 record in Stage 3 last year, but it's been a long time since we've seen them play it in any official competition. So it's gonna be kind of new ground here, testing the waters. You talk about that prep in the pregame, Ginny, that's really not gonna be a factor here.
It's like out the window.
Yeah, SCARZ haven't played that many maps yet, though, so for them to ban out the maps that NIP seem to be really strong at, feels like they might be starting with a bit of a smaller map pool here. As you mentioned it, they haven't played it yet. It does kind of feel, if you look at their map bans, like a little bit of a higher preference map, because they don't really ban it themselves. The only time they banned it was yesterday in that game against D+.
So it does bring the question as well in terms of potential, what we can be expecting from both of these teams on this map, because both of them clearly felt comfortable letting it float, which means both of them are happy to play it, and that then means maybe you don't have prep in terms of VOD reviews, but we can be expecting opposite playstyles clashing, especially as you mentioned, and SCARZ is very good at finding some of these little holes in terms of the playstyle and just blowing it wide open.
Yeah, they will be starting out on defense, SCARZ themselves, and for NIP to start out on attack, usually I'd say on a map like Skyscraper, you may be a bit of a disadvantage, but then their attack rate in Skyscraper isn't really all too shabby, because it's their second best attack in win rate, so I hope for NIP that they're able to pick up a few rounds on their attack.
I think it can definitely favor that explosive playstyle that NIP like to go for. They're not always rushes. They're not in the 30 seconds. They're not making things go faster than they should be. But what they do is they'll set up, they'll get all in position, they'll make sure that they've opened the walls they need to, and then boom, in an instant, they're in like lightning. So you've really got to watch out for SCARZ. It'll be interesting to see if they try to put that pressure early to stop NIP from setting up. We've seen them do that before. They can get a little aggressive sometimes. We talk about Rek. He's a guy who likes to get active, and so I'm excited to see what he can do here on the defense.
Yeah, aggression, however, seems to be one of the most beneficial things that some of these teams have had, and it's gotten them really far. So when we're looking at both of these rosters, they like to play it, however, their own kind of style. So I want predictions from you guys. I'm gonna start with you.
Listen.
Sorry, Jesse, you're the first one under the bus.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go for Ninjas in Pyjamas here. I really have been liking their new players coming into this roster. Their old players are legends, world champions, of course, back a couple of years now. I think NIP, I don't see them going down into APAC's finest. SCARZ are a good team, but they've still got some problems here.
I feel like I'm gonna have to agree with that. I feel like SCARZ might be able to keep the fight. You know, when they have these places where they do spot out the defensive gaps and they can take good use of that, they might pick up a few rounds, but I feel like this opponent will be too much of a tough battle for them.
Okay,
The
well,
analyst in green going for NIP.
this
No
is
bias here.
actually crazy. Both of the analysts are agreeing. Let's see if the casters want to agree with us, because we have Dez and Ace ready. So guys, do you want to throw in a little spicy prediction?
I'm excited about SCARZ. I mean, and that's coming from somebody who absolutely loves the LATAM region. But for me, it's that story about, you know, we've had the regions sort of separate a little bit. We've got a Japanese team that can make it through to the live finals if they just get one map.
One quick point, Jesse. She's definitely wearing blue, not green. You might want to get your eyes checked out, mate.
Blue?
No, that's green.
This is green,
It's like emerald.
my guy.
Yeah.
Pretty blue from here.
I think the age is like starting to show.
Is it gonna
Yes,
turn into
I'm
one
a
of
bit
those
sorry.
It's when you ask
Oh,
let's
not start that argument all over again.
Wait a minute, do you see?
Have, like, all the-
It's
You
green, by
guys
the
go
way.
and argue about.
Yeah, we're gonna argue about the color. You guys can argue about your
Definitely
Pretty
prediction.
blue from this TV here, but thank you very much, guys. No, I think I'm very much the same as well. SCARZ for me, underdogs, but knowing
It's
the
just
map that we're going
exciting.
into it itself makes it very, very exciting. Hello, everyone. For me, it's one of those that I'm looking at and thinking, Skyscraper for a start. Favorite map. Absolutely love casting it these days. And two, SCARZ have not played it. This roster was picked up by SCARZ in March of last year. It's a complete unknown. If you're going to bring it out, what better match to do it in?
I've literally just said it 5 minutes ago to Des, and I think it's a point worth bringing up. You look at it and you think, this is a huge moment potentially for this Japanese team. Put the region on the map, get to the live finals in front of everybody, have that moment on the live stage, bring out maybe something they've been saving. Who knows? It's all of a sudden never been played for them, and then it makes it through the bans in one of their most important games. You gotta wonder, have they got something set up and ready for us? I think coming into this, it's kind of easy to look at it and go, NIP win. And I think, you know, I predicted it, and I think a lot of people doing predictions, thinking about how the game's gonna go, would favour NIP. That's the reality. But this, I think genuinely, if we can see the SCARZ that we saw yesterday against D plus Kia, I think this could be a much closer game than we think. And I have a question mark over the map. I'm wondering if SCARZ have managed to win this in the map ban phase potentially.
So much of this for me is going to come down to comfort on the map itself.
Yeah.
For NIP, it's not exactly a slouch map either. It's their fourth most preferred map. They played it a good few times. Only once, interestingly, so far in 2023. But over the last year or so, have played it 4 or 5 times. So it's in their wheelhouse, but it's not their go-to if they get given the choice of where they're going to play. So if SCARZ have been able to look back at that game against Black Dragons, the NIP only narrowly won 7-5. And bearing in mind, this was only 3 weeks ago or so. There's a good bit of prep work they could have done on it. As you say, if they've come in and it's been their sleeper map that they've kind of held on to for the longest time, this could prove to be really, really exciting. And I did wonder for a while, would we see an attempt to get back onto Cafe again for SCARZ? For NIP, it's their top map. You can understand completely why we're not going back there. So even though the last 4 maps these two teams have played, 3 of them have been Cafe, it does make sense that we're going somewhere a little bit more exotic, dare I say. Bans have rifled on through. Not at all too surprised to see the Ying ban coming out of NIP. It was the exact same ban that they had last time round. Interestingly, the Valkyrie as well. The exact same ban that they had against Black Dragons just a few weeks ago. But obviously here we're facing up against new bans from SCARZ in the form of the Monty and the Kai, which again, NIP will be used to. They saw this in the Black Dragons game being banned away as well.
Let's get into this then. We're going to be heading over into the game any second now. We are on Skyscraper. It's NIP versus SCARZ. Both teams with an opportunity to get themselves through to the live finals. Winner goes through and the loser will play again tomorrow in a decider, best of 3, that will lock in their fate, whether that be in Forum in a couple of days or whether that will be on a plane going home.
That's the real crunch of this, the real crux of it, right? Whoever wins this one, you're safe. You're out of the
You get a day
madness Yeah, you're out of the madness that is going to ensue tomorrow, because for a number of teams, let's not forget, your elimination game is a best of 3. And while someone look at it like MATR, no doubt, and say, hey, some best of 3s, that sounds like a fun time. Get us down there into that lower bracket and let's have a... They aren't saying that, Tim. But it's a good little bit of warm-up for you. But I think you'd much rather hold off and only really show what you need to show in a best of 1, rather than being forced to show potentially 3 maps, including your banning strategy, by being forced down to the lower side. So this game, either you win, you make it through, you escape best of 3s, or you have to start showing your strategy early. And of course, you risk going home at the final hour. How heartbreaking that would be, Tim, to lose on literally the final day and not make it to Forum on Friday.
Very, very tough. Our operator bans were, of course, Monty, Ying, Valkyrie, and Kaid. Pretty standard, really. The Monty one, I'll say it's an interesting one. It's not really an interest. You know, we know why it's been banned, particularly on Skyscraper. Very useful operator, muscling up black stairs, getting into karaoke for a plant, that sort of thing, playing in from the balcony in towards office. Very, very useful on this map. So not too much of a surprise to see Monty banned, but could be influential nonetheless.
And those are the 3, like I said earlier, we already saw banned away against Black Dragon. So really, Monty's the one that I'm looking at. And kind of surprised that we haven't seen it banned away by NIP.
Yep.
You know, normally you see Japanese teams being the pioneers of Monty, dare I say. It's not that other regions don't play it, it's just that Japanese teams love making use of the Monty when push really comes to shove. Anyway, here we go with things starting out on the east side of the map, out towards Exhibition and Office. It's Wizard looking to work some magic up towards Shrine side, and you can see the Flores drones just rolling in front of him there as well, forcing the shield away. So piece by piece, you're going to see NIP looking to peel back the layers of this defense, the main frustration being that with an Azami on side, it's very easy for SCARZ to reconstruct these defenses and get things set back up again once those Flores drones have already rained on through. So it will force NIP to have to be a little bit more dynamic here, a little more creative in how they get through this. But with Habana, with nades on side, Flores drones, Selmas, Ash breaching charges, they have got so much to, breaching rounds, sorry, they've got so much to work with here to destroy things like the Azami barricades. NIP have come prepared.
Worth noting that SCARZ are doing a pretty good job on the information game. 5 drones down, leaving only 5 for NIP. Flash is going to go into sight, and we're a minute left on the clock here, guys. They've lost a lot of time here of NIP. Pino is finally going to pick up that opening kill. We actually saw him take an attempt with a nade earlier onto Tayu. He took a lot of damage and manages to finish him off now, but it's taken an awful lot of time to get there. They've 30 seconds left to go. SCARZ are in good positions here. This is doable, Des.
And Rek has been a wrecking ball for the last 2 or 3 days for this team. Just get himself shut down there on the not really aware that Muzi was coming pushing in, but was Shoy up on the top side, finds one back for the team too. It's tit for tat between the two, but so far it's NIP who still have 3 on side. Make it 1 left. It's all down to Pion. He's sat here with 2 gas canisters in back pocket, but I don't think he's going to be able to connect this one. That one falls a little bit short. This one might tickle at cons, but I think he'll be able to complete and get out of dodge. This one's almost impossible to retake, Tim.
Going to be very difficult now for Pion. That's unfortunate for SCARZ. They were in such a good position with 30 seconds left to go. There was a real opportunity for them, but NIP managed to carve through them like a knife through butter, Des, and they leave them now in a 3v1, trying to get anything going. Pion can't do it. That's going to be Psycho finishing off the round for NIP. They take a good first attack, and that's 1-0 NIP. SCARZ need to be careful. I know we're only 1 round in, and I really like SCARZ to have a good run at this. They need to be careful they don't let NIP get ahead of them, because one thing I will say for NIP 100% is if they get ahead of somebody, they will stay on top of them.
What I really like about this round is the map control from NIP too. You know, starting out on a full map clear out towards the east side, very quick at breaking the shrine hold, and really, even with the Azami barriers going back up, they just didn't really seem to care. Just kept on working their way forwards, and with the full control downstairs, knowing that no one was roaming down there from SCARZ, even with only 2 nades on team, you saw Pino, as you commented, doing a little bit of chip damage onto Tayu and then fully finishing him off with the second one. Just no contest coming through, no attempts at C4s, for example. Really, that's where you want to see SCARZ getting a little bit more busy around the map itself and looking to slow NIP down at the very least. You know, not go down and find kills, for example. Just be prepared to try and waste time as best you can. Now we move over towards the east side to Exhibition and Office, and here we go. Well, I'm not going to say a spicy comp coming out of NIP, but we are seeing cons. Okay, changes away last second. Of course he does. I was going to say we're seeing the Ossa coming back out once again. We've seen them try to employ it a couple of times over the last couple of days. Not really to much success, to be honest with you. It's always been shut down when they've tried to make use of it. But here, last second, they changed back over again to this very nade and ranged heavy style composition.
Yeah, I mean, also still an interesting one, quite sort of a niche pick really a lot of the time, but can be very valuable, I think, in a number of ways. Obviously with helping getting a diffuser down, but also for stealing ground. You can sort of plant your shields, you move up to that point, you pick one up, you move it forward, you push forward behind it again, and it can really be used to sort of claw away at map control. So I'm interested to see, without that operator pick, how do NIP go about getting across that top floor, getting into the positions that they want. At the minute, they're focusing largely towards the balcony, but there's going to be work for them to do over that side as well.
This is what I wanted to see, in the Observer very naturally spun straight over there, so thank you very much. Was over onto the main double wall on site. They've left one side slightly opened up, but the bottom side of it soft, and a hole at the bottom. And the reason why I was looking for that was, look at the utility on the right-hand side of your screen. 6 impacts sat in the back pockets of Shoy, Tayu, and Pion. They want to use that to try and deny away the exit limits when they come down to being dropped on this wall. And given that's the only hard breach they've got to play with here, one of them already being committed towards the VIP single wall, they get that denied away. That double wall is staying very firmly closed. However, with the Ash on side, things along those lines, they can just blow at the soft side of the wall with no real threat, to be fair. And maybe that's something that hasn't really been considered here by the side of SCARZ.
Fishlight's done a pretty good job there. He's held on to Geisha for about 1:30. He's actually dropped himself back, and just as I'm saying that, Caster Curse strikes. Psycho manages to move in and find an opener. I thought he might be able to get himself a good angle and just burn more time and lives inside of Geisha, but it just didn't happen for him. 5 versus 4 with a good opener for NIP. Pino working from underneath. If he can sneak his way up those house stairs on the knock, it could be a real cat amongst the pigeons.
This is looking really clinical, and we spoke about this yesterday, how we need to find a better name for the slightly slower playstyle that some teams are employing, that, you know, are going to be VIP of engineered, because NIP are doing VP engineered, sorry, because NIP are now looking to do something very, very similar, where it's all about the drone play. You know, for 2 minutes solid, they've been sat on drones, making sure downstairs is clear, upstairs is clear. They've had players holding retreat angles, so if someone is out roaming, they're going to get shut down on the way back. It's just very clinical and clean siege. It's not the quickest, for sure, but really what they're looking towards here, again, is being able to make use of all this utility when it comes around to hitting the site. Now, unfortunately, they've lost 2 players, make that 3 on the push forward, as Rek has absolutely decimated them. Looking a little bit ropey here for NIP.
Certainly is. It looks like they will be closed down, and the army just applying new Kiba barricades each time one is destroyed, going to keep hold of that dragon position, and it's Muzi that's trying to push in through there. Beautiful headshot to find the one behind the dragon, and the second, but surely not. SCARZ, they will drop back, they'll burn the time, the seconds tick down, and Pion in the final second manages to find that kill, and that is a better round from SCARZ. I think NIP actually tried fairly similar to what they did in round 1 there. Leave it, like you said, use those drones, get all that information, leave it to that final 30-40 seconds. The problem for NIP was in the first round, they had this moment where they all pushed, they synchronized together, kill, 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 and they gave themselves that man advantage. This time, it was very individualistic. There was one pushed from Terrace, lost the gunfight. One push from Dragon, lost the gunfight. One pushed from the bottom of house stairs and lost the gunfight. And that was the problem for NIP. They were chipped away at individually. So if they're going to play that late style, they're going to have to do it in a way that they work together.
That first kill from Psycho was exactly what I was talking about, by the way. Kind of forcing players back by chucking drones at their feet. You know, I think we all know this if you play ranked as well. A drone's, well, not everyone. If there's a drone at your feet, run away. Very fair chance. They know exactly where you are. You've been yellow pinged out. They've got players coming for your life. You need to move, which is why you see players trying to charge their way forwards. And obviously you're in a spot where you can't check every possible angle that you might be getting blindsided from. So it was good for Psycho to be in there, good discipline being shown by NIP. My kind of take on that was they wanted downstairs control to make use of the 3 nades they still had in the back pocket of Muzi and Psycho. But unfortunately losing 2 or 3 players to Rek, who really has dragged his team through the kind of latter parts of that round, was the main contributor to why they didn't win. And that's an interesting triple stack onto the wall. Who are they expected to come running through there? Monty?
Well, he's not going to be.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. Like, I guess, like, it'll do, I think it's 60 damage per explosive, so maybe there's Ophia, like, I don't know. Ossa as well? I get it, yeah, okay. Normally we see a double stack and that's enough, but all right, let's go for it.
A lot of eggs in one basket, Des.
There is. That door is where they are investing everything.
We'll have to reinvent that saying a little bit. We could reinvent it in a siege style. Don't put all your EDDs on one door. That could be.
I knew where that was going before you even got there, and I was just like, for God's sake, don't put all
whoa! Don't put all your EDDs on one door.
It doesn't really roll off the tongue though. Don't put all your cap cans on one door, maybe.
I like it.
We'll see. We'll work on that one and bring it back out again at a future point. Here we go, though. 2 playing out on the Shrine balcony here as well. They've got to be mindful of potential jump outs. Teams normally double Claymore up the window here as well to stop any kind of jump out. There's 1 set down, no double. For the number of times that we've seen, especially when I think back to APAC North, again, you know, down 1 Kia, now known as D+, used to do it a lot. Impact out the window, jump out, kill the players that were out on the Shrine balcony. You've got to be really mindful of that, especially now the Solus in the game, who of course can see those Claymores outside, and potentially how many players are sat on drone.
Still a, I'm going to call it a moderately paced round from NIP. We're a minute and a half in, not really too deeply established inside of the map yet. Don't have top floor control. Still got Fishlark and Rek up there looking to hold them off for as long as possible. Just burn as much time before they can start pushing. The thing is, if NIP are struggling for time a little bit and we're seeing last 20-30 second executes, this is a good site choice from SCARZ because it's essentially the top floor with a couple of extra steps. You know, you still need to get in there and get a hold of Geisha, Karaoke T, and then start pushing on towards site. NIP aren't doing terribly. They've got the bottom of Black Stairs open. They've got the Ossa shield there, so they've kind of got what they need. Pino needs to win this fight, but no, he's not going to see the man on the stairs. It's Rek that picks up the first upstairs, gets Psycho, and this is what I was saying about that top floor hold, but NIP have an answer.
Tried the retake, and the Ossa shield on Black Stairs really helped out towards this as well, really denied the whole angle of a retake coming out from SCARZ, and despite their best attempts here, they're down to just 2 players left. Well, Shoy has barely got a bit of HP to his name. It's taken away by Muzi with a headshot. 1 or 100 simply did not matter, and now it's down to Pion to clutch up. Finds 1, and 2 still stand.
20 seconds left to go, though, Des. It's not necessarily the longest amount of time to hold on, but Pino has a sliver of an angle from the drum stairs and manages to slam the last man, and that is going to be NIP taking round 3. But I tell you what, this is feeling like a good game here. I'm excited about this one. 2-1 NIP.
It's an interesting conversation, again, coming back to the whole, air quotes, VP style of playing, where I think for the longest time we've looked at it, and the teams that are executing with 20 seconds on the clock were like, yeah, that's not very good. You're leaving that a little bit late there. Whereas actually a lot of teams now are more preferring to prepare extremely well for the execute. Take more time to drone things out, soften things up with utility, and then say, right, we've only really got 1 shot at this, but we're confident that we can pull it off. And that's kind of a bit different to what we've seen at a number of teams, most teams arguably around the world at the minute, playing this very fast, aggressive play style, you know, being more dynamic. Whereas for NIP, it feels like playing things as a checklist, you know, have we droned out this room? Yep, okay, what's in the next room? Oh, there's a player. Let's get 2 drones on there, force him back. Psycho, you're in spot for the flank watch, right? Yep, absolutely, I've got him, cool. 1 player dead. And it is forcing SCARZ into a very different play style to what we saw yesterday on Cafe. Think about when we had double jump outs, we had C4s out windows, we had run outs. They were playing so aggressively, but NIP are just not giving them any room to be able to employ that play style today, which I think is why we're seeing a slightly more muted SCARZ. Sure, Rek's done pretty well in a couple of these rounds, but that's really what they've got going for them. And as I say that, here he is at a window/doorway looking for an early kill.
We're going to see them back into Karaoke T. This was the round that we saw in the first round, the site that we saw in the first round. NIP were able to get the win, but it came down to that synchronized push in the final 30 seconds where they managed to get a couple of kills. So SCARZ, if they can burn a couple of lives early, the Solus potentially of Rek, get out there, get a couple of kills, give them the man advantage, that's going to significantly help them. Alternatively, they could have thought about maybe bringing a couple of trap operators, slow down NIP even further, you know, maybe a Legion, maybe a Banshee here or there, but they've gone down the road of playing with that roaming Solus, get Rek out there, try and deny the information, and they just need to burn that extra 10 or 15 seconds.
Is he still laid down inside the bathroom, by the way? It looks like he'd broken his knees with the way that he was laying against the wall. Look at him. Ouch. It's like a really bad magic trick with the whole, like, box cutting thing. Just he's actually lost his kneecaps this time round until he spins to his side. Now, he'll be looking to spring up later into the round, I imagine, so rather than early aggression, let them get comfy. Welcome them to the build and make them a nice little cup of tea, see how far in they get, and then just shoot the cups up. That'll be the game plan. So keep a close eye on that one. We'll see if he does get figured out, but I'm pretty sure he has evaded all intel, coming in out of NIP so far.
And Rek's going to be there. You know, he's got the gadget to support him in doing that. He's going to be using that scanner. It can see through any surface. It can see the electricals. He's smart with that play. He's not going to challenge it directly. It's a little bit of a risk. He's feeding the information in instead.
I mean, oh,
Too late, he knows. He knows
I
that
thought he was
the
going to
movement's
impact, and I was be like, no, don't now.
This is the thing with the swords, it's so flexible. They can be used like a pulse just to give that information, those key locations, and then when the time is right, Rek's going to look to push up. He is going to win or lose this round, I think, potentially.
I mean, Rek on the flank, it wouldn't have been the first time or the last. That's a great shot from Pion to Cons, who came pushing in. Muzi elsewhere finds Tayo, though, and this is where we've got to see Rek really start to make a move, because the execute largely has come in. They found a couple of kills, and his backline is in tatters. Essentially 4 versus 2 on the push forward, and here comes Rek. Finds Wizard, who was tasked with watching him the whole time, but looks the wrong way. Psycho finding him out. It's a 3v2 once again for NIP.
Rek was just too concerned about Terrace there, and Psycho was able to take advantage of that. Pino goes in. He's always going to shred through you when he manages to get into sight. It's all up to Washoy. Shut down by Psycho. And that's going to be NIP taking another round, and they're starting to look a bit too comfortable for SCARZ's liking here on the attack.
Dare I say, what I'd really like to see here from SCARZ is more aggression in the early rounds. And I'm very aware that I said in the previous round, hey, yesterday they were at every window and doorway. We love seeing it. What I want to see them doing more than anything else is chewing through the drones. Because it's almost like running a gauntlet where you've got like an end of a runway to get to. There's something chasing you from behind. It's like a boulder rolling towards you. And you've got maybe 2 minutes to win the round, or at least have enough of an impact that you're going to be able to disrupt the round. So when you've got NIP doing all this drone work, they're getting set up around site, they're able to execute at their own leisure. We saw it in that round. They pushed forward, they went 2 for 1. It was essentially 4 versus 2 on the push forward. Sure, Wizard got shot in the back by Rek, but they dealt with that flank very easily. They've got to shut drones down quicker to slow NIP down further, to force them to take more risks and pick up kills early into the round, because right now, they are running the roost, and I'm hoping that's the kind of conversation that SCARZ have just had in this timeout.
Yeah, the tactical timeout could be an important one. I think ultimately, like you say, Rek, as I suggested, there was sort of looking at the first time NIP had attacked onto Karaoke T. I'm looking at that thinking, just waste a little bit more time, just push them a little bit deeper into the round, and you might have that, you know, that success. And there was 2 ways of doing that. I mentioned the potential for trap operators or the potential for playing a roam game. I think Rek was just a little bit ineffectual. It was too little, too late, really, because NIP they were established too deep, and that's why Psycho gets the kill onto him, because he's then having to worry about Terrace, he's having to worry about Dragon, he's having to worry about Drum, because NIP are too far forward. If that flank comes a little bit sooner and he can catch them in Office and Exhibition, maybe a little bit in Dragon before they've got so established, maybe he gets 2 or 3. And it just felt like maybe a little bit too late for Rek. But it's always a difficult one when you're out on the roam, you've kept yourself hidden, you're off the radar like that, to know the exact moment, the exact right time to push forward. You know, maybe that could have been supported by a bit more information from his team on the top floor to say, look, this is what's going on, this is where they're up to, you know, and maybe a bulletproof cam up there somewhere, something, you know, anything to just maybe give him that little bit of extra info that would have helped.
Now, probably where I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but more kind of like a bit surprised they didn't have this conversation, is that SCARZ have gone back to a very deep comp, right? They've got 3 shields on side, they've got the mirror windows, with Mai for support, smoke. It's not that aggressive, let's get out there and try and cause a little bit of damage style comp. It's much more, how can we hover around site, how can we fall back and be largely impenetrable? And I feel they've got an okay read on it. There's no forest on the other side, but NIP have come tool to the teeth again with range destruction. They've got the nades on the Iana, they've got the Zofia and the Ash together. Those 3 operators really are enough to chew through these shields and then some. But for me, again, it's Cons playing on the Ossa. You see the Ossa coming in towards a site like this. I'm not entirely sure what their game plan is in terms of the attack, because they've got to, again, clear all the way down through top floor. Chances are you'll see it dropped on black stairs facing downwards to stop a flank angle coming out of SCARZ once again, but that might just be about it.
Going to be a nice opener for Washoy there, just managing to shut down Psycho as he tries to push into the map. And the thing is, SCARZ have done reasonably well on the entry. They have had a few, they have been able to pick them up, but they just don't seem to really be able to make the most of that man advantage when they get it. For the time being, Rek and Pion, they're going to be at the sharp end of this defence. They're going to try and deal with this Ossa that's looking to push in. Cons is going to take a little bit of damage there. A lungful of the smoke does do its job. He's just going to have to hold back for 10 or 15 seconds before he can continue that push towards the top of black stairs.
I mean, he'll be ecstatic at this point, I imagine, because if you're burning through smoke canisters this early in the round, not entirely sure what moves he was looking for. I think he had eyes
there
on
you
towards
go.
the site. They found 2, make it 3 on the upstairs as well. NIP's pushing towards this top floor. It's fallen completely flat. Wizard might find 1, but I'm not too sure he can live up to his name and bring down all 3 remaining players for SCARZ, Tim.
No, absolutely, and I'm just looking back at my notes to the last time this was played in round 3, and the thing that I finished it with at the end was, for NIP, top floor equals win. And that's exactly where the fight has happened again, but this time SCARZ have been able to stand up to it, and there's very little chance left for Wizard. I like what SCARZ have done now. It's almost NIP-esque what they've done here, and I'll explain that in a second. Wizard pushes down the stairs. He's just looking to get some access in towards site, try and get anything going, find any kills he can, but it's very unlikely at this point. 15 seconds left to go. SCARZ are playing this nice and deep. Toxic Babe canisters. There you go. Final kill comes in from Peon, and a great defense. And the reason that I say that was NIP-esque is that's something that historically over the years NIP have actually done extremely well as part of their game plan, is they'll go in, they have that moment of aggression, they get 2 or 3 kills, and then they almost disappear into the map. And they will just sit back and they realise that the entire round is made up of ebbs and flows, and they will control that clock and that time and that aggression really, really well. And honestly, SCARZ then just reminded me so much of it. You've got 1 man up on the top floor. Do they stay up there to fight him? No, absolutely not. We're all going to go downstairs. We're going to sit nice and deep inside. You can have 30 seconds figuring that out and come into pushes. And it is very much what NIP have done over the years. So interesting to see it sort of used against them almost.
Well, the 2 that were left upstairs in the 5 versus 1 were like, yeah, we fancy our chances, and ultimately paid the price when it came around to KD. But as you say, the rest
Beyond and Rec need a big shout there. They did a great job.
The rest had sunk all the way back in towards the map. What was probably interesting about that was, because I was commenting earlier on, I want to see more roaming, I want to see more killing of drones. You know, I thought they were going to play really tight to the site, but really for this site, barbecue and kitchen, you have to be playing on the upstairs, so they committed all that utility upstairs. And in a way, I'm kind of surprised that NIP looked a little bit lost at points attacking into it. It's not too dissimilar to attacking into that site normally, but Muzi walks towards Black, kind of worried about what's going on site. They clearly hadn't droned it out. Looks completely the wrong way when he goes to push up Black in the first place, and it just kind of all falls apart from there. So good hold by SCARZ, kind of proving again that there's not just one way to play Siege. You haven't always got to be aggressive on the roam. You can just sit back and play very, very firmly on site itself, or at least in the extended hold behind a lot of utility. They made it work, and they have that second round on the board.
We're coming back to office then. We saw this in round 2. It was a SCARZ win. This was... So previously, NIP, they sort of tried that late round push again. A lot of droning, a lot of information, working underneath with the knock, trying to use the nades, which isn't going to be something that they try this time. Haven't brought nades along, so I'm glad to see it is going to be an adapted take coming in from NIP. They are doing things differently, because last time they were reduced into just 1v1 gunfights, and it just didn't really work for them. They were pushing in a very individual manner rather than the sort of synchronized attack that we saw in round 1. So they're just going to do things a little bit differently here. I think probably more of a focus towards getting the balcony open this time.
Yeah, they've managed to get VIP opened up already. That's why they committed the Thatcher early on. They've tried to open up that double wall, but I think as we all saw, the impacts came through. The first one missed, the second one did collect it. There's still 3 impact pockets, so the Ace won't be able to get it open. But NIP have the Hibana on side. If you think back to Clubhouse, for example, trying to open the kitchen hatch, teams can bring 6 impacts. The Hibana doesn't care. She can stand there all day long, just rotating through 2 of her SCARZ at a time, 2 more, 2 more, 2 more. They haven't got enough to be able to deny it all away. So really that's what I'm looking towards, is seeing Cons hoping to get that wall opened up. But elsewhere, again on the downstairs of this map, Pion's been found out.
The thing is with SCARZ, they have been found out once or twice like that, and it's down to NIP now to go in and get the kill. As I said, SCARZ have actually done all right on the entry. Looking back through, they've got 3 out of 5, so, you know, they are holding their own there. They have the advantage at the minute, and so NIP would do themselves a service to start winning those opening gunfights. You know, if they want the better than a 3-3 half, if they want to be taking that 4-2. A lot of time, again, there's 2 minutes 15 and not really any push towards site yet.
What I do really enjoy is that you see in SCARZ playing on the downstairs. I criticise them for this in round 1 and 2. No one to stop the nade play from below. Now, NIP haven't brought nades this round, but at least they're sending players downstairs to try and fight. So it stops the back flank, it stops any kind of nade play. It's all looking good. And NIP is, in my view at least, starting to run out of time here. But like I said, we're in this kind of 20, 30-second meta where teams can still execute in the dying seconds. My concern is they've got no information on site here. Nothing has been cleared out. They're going to have to rely on gun skill entirely, Tim.
Yeah, and you just feel
they're doing it.
That push from underneath has
unbelievable.
The push from underneath was just left too late. It was nice for them to have a presence there, but there was 30 seconds left. You've still got a man downstairs for SCARZ, and they saw that with Rek earlier, just leaving it too late to get themselves back into the game. If you give NIP an opening like a 4v3 on sites, for example, which is the sort of what they were facing there, they'll take it. They'll go in and they'll win those gunfights. You know, they're certainly not scared to do that, and NIP come out the benefactors 4-2.
If I'm being cynical, which, me, cynical, whoever thought so? A little bit probably over-aggressive in the final defense there from SCARZ. Like, I thought they'd played this really well. Like, NIP realized they couldn't get the double wall opened up. And for SCARZ, they kind of like these final couple of kills here, swing one, swing two. Just in really difficult positions, I felt, but equally NIP had done enough prep work to make it hard to sit in those positions. They'd opened up the terrace-facing walls. They'd opened up VIP wall. So wherever you tried to sit as SCARZ, you were always going to be exposed to at least one angle. And if you didn't know that every single player from the side of NIP was coming pushing in from the west side, which they were, but you can't assume that, they would have died to other angles anyway. So SCARZ are kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I would have liked to see them maybe tuck back a little bit deeper. NIP barely had time to get inside and go for a plant, but ultimately held a little bit too forward of the line and got exposed and therefore brought down by NIP. But again, really good heart from NIP. Really enjoyed the drone play coming out of that. Really enjoyed the synergy between the players when it came round to the executes. SCARZ have got a lot of work to do here on the attacking side if they want any hope of making it through to Forum on Friday.
And I know that there's been a lot of Japanese fans back in SCARZ. I know there's been a lot of viewers over there, you know, on the Japanese streams as well. It's a very passionate region when it comes to its siege, and they will desperately want to see SCARZ going through. I know that it'll probably be quite late in the day for them now, if I'm right, time zone-wise.
Like 11 hours ahead of us in the UK normally.
Yeah, I think it's probably quite late in the day for them.
8:30.
There we go.
At night.
Oh,
it's not terrible actually.
Not too bad. It's,
this is like wind down your dressing gown kind of time.
I remember co-streaming the Japan Invitational, and I remember it being through the night for me, through the daytime, so I knew it was quite a big time difference. But yeah, you know, they're going to be back in SCARZ. I've absolutely no doubt they're going to be looking for a big win. Like I say, a big shout out to the Japanese community. They're very passionate, definitely back their teams.
And look at that VIP wall, I'm pretty sure has been jammed off and they have no way of removing it. Can we just check that quickly, observers, please? If the VIP wall has been left jammed up. I want to see that's able to be opened up in a minute. For now, the display is coming in. Everything's full widescreen. We can see absolutely nothing. But that last second design barricade, enough to keep Muzi on side here until his screen recovers. But with such limited pushing angles coming in, SCARZ very much exposed here. Finally, they have got that wall opened up, but very little they can do with it. They've been absolutely destroyed by the side of NIP.
Not looking good for SCARZ here, just in terms of the game overall. You know, we always take a lot away from the side switch. You know, as you say yourself, there's two sides to every game of Siege, and NIP look like they've gone from strength to strength here, moving from attack to defense. They did well in the first half. They dealt with the problems that were put in front of them, and just putting up big barriers for SCARZ to try and work through now. Pion's going to take a few seconds downstairs. There's probably a bit of discussion going on. I don't think that's everything here. He's looking for maybe somebody to push him, try and get a kill or two as well at the same time. But, you know, just take that opportunity, because at 5-2 down against NIP, if you remember at the beginning of the game, I go back to what I said. NIP are a team, once they're on top, they know how to stay there.
You can see Pion having a little bit of a chat here as well, hands off the keyboards. They know that the round is done. It's just kind of unofficial timeout, as we call it. Bit of a chance to have a chat, figure out what needs to be course corrected going forwards, and maybe you're saying, well, Des, it's only the first attacking round, what is there to course correct? There's obviously many things along with the actual game itself that have to be considered. It can be team morale, how much you're communicating. You know, I think every pro player will tell you at some point they've been in a team or in a competition where when things aren't going so well, comms do drop, things that you might otherwise call, you know, think about like, oh, someone's used a nade, someone's chucked a flash, this player is shooting from this angle because I know the sound of the gun. all these little things that you kind of clock in your area are really valuable information to pass around your team. But when a team is low on morale and low on energy, that stuff does not flow as freely, and it can cost you games big time.
The other problem that SCARZ are facing at the minute, that's within the last couple of rounds, NIP have had a few flawless rounds now. So that's a few rounds without kills for SCARZ, and you know, the pressure of that, the weight of that starts to mount really, and it's going to look like a steeper and steeper hill to climb that they're currently stood at the bottom of. 5-2 then for NIP. Not taking anything away from the Brazilians either. They've played this fantastically well. I think there have been some mistakes, unfortunately, for the Japanese side, particularly on the defence. As I say, the use of players underneath, I think, was a good plan, but maybe not executed quite well enough. But NIP have taken full advantage of that. When the moment's been there in front of them to strike, they have. They've won gunfights against some very talented players on the side of SCARZ. You know, we've got some big gunners on there. Rek is going well currently, 8 and 6. There's just a couple that are struggling to get themselves into the game, and that's because you're coming up against the likes of Muzi and Pino and Psycho, and you know, they're just an absolute nightmare to play against.
Unplayable is the term that we sometimes use.
On their day,
Yeah.
absolutely.
On their day is always the kind of big, you know, statement that you put around that. I was just looking back at the match history for these two teams as well, and teams that they lost against to be sat here with a 2-1 record. That reminder again, whoever wins this one, they go 3-1. If they qualify, the loser will be 2-2. They go into a best of 3 tomorrow to either fight for a chance to make it to our live finals on Friday, or to be sadly sent home tomorrow. But NIP lost to VP, SCARZ lost to W7M. Two teams that I think could very easily be finalists here. You know, it kind of goes to show the caliber of the competition that some of these teams have to face up against, but I think ultimately when you look at it on paper, NIP probably have had the tougher competition, therefore are pretty favoured in this matchup, and the score definitely helps support that point. They look like the teams come away with the win here.
Certainly looking that way, but we know, Siege, and we know that a game is never over until it is over. We saw a great fight back from Virtus Pro the other day, and who knows, it could be starting here as Rek gets an opener onto Pino to kick things off in round 8. They are going to be attacking into Karaoke and T-Room this time, SCARZ. They've tried to soften up cons on the Black Stairs. There's been nades, there's been Roteros, there's been all sorts going in there, and it's only now that they've managed to get him moved out. I like this position from Cons. I was going to comment the fact that, you know, sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. There's a double reinforce on the Karaoke wall, no rotation, so you have to play the Black Stairs, because otherwise you are just giving up that location and the attackers will go in and take advantage of that. So Cons keeping his life here, continuing fighting is super important.
Smart play from Rek as well to play at distance there, knowing that Cons is the one on Black Stairs with the shotgun. You play up nice and close, chances are he takes your head clean off, and Cons is now rotated away. So with the pressure that was coming in, they figured, you know what, actually we can just rotate away here. There's no one pushing us on the backside, so why not sit there? They'll be a little bit mistaken on that side, because there is a player coming up behind them, but trying to play a distance here inside of gold. It's Psycho finding one, brings down Rek as he hits double digits, and now Psycho spins on a dime, looking for the player coming up on the backside, but it just goes to show this little bit of mistiming between the players on SCARZ's side does not stop Fishlike winning the gunfight.
Effectively a 2 versus 2 as Tayo is down. Wizard manages to find Fishlike, and this is going to be a big ask now for Pion. So low health.
Oh, double
one
Pokeball.
impact nade. Catches 2, Des. It catches 2.
Beautiful. Again, one of those rounds that I thought for a second we might see SCARZ bouncing back in, but NIP just hold up in the big clutch moments. You know, I will give a shout out to Rek as well. He's had a wonderful tournament so far. He was 35 and 22 coming into this game. I think he now sits at 10 and 7 as well, second highest rated overall for a team that many would look at and, you know, write off a long time ago. Fishlike, I think, got his first kill in the round as well. Prior to that, him and Tayo between them was 0 and 13. Sadly, we need to see more players standing up ready for SCARZ if you want to be putting on a performance against teams like NIP. It does feel like this one should be over, though, pretty much 7 and 2, though, Tim.
I think it's certainly looking that way. The only thing really going in SCARZ's favour at the minute is the fact that we're moving down to the 3rd choice site. I can feel Fresh being a little bit disappointed somewhere. One of the few sites not yet utilised at the tournament is, of course, the house side. Bedroom.
He's fuming.
Bedroom and bathroom has not yet been utilised. I don't believe. I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen it as of yet. Fresh likes to run his bingo card, and that one is still needed on there to see every site played. mid. But no, NIP, they're going over to Kitchen and Barbecue.
I believe that's the only site we have not seen.
There was one more. There was 2 sites.
There's also Border. We haven't seen one of the sites.
Customs, I think it is.
Supply.
Yeah.
Every other site in the game we have seen.
Yes.
So maybe you'll have to wait for the best of 3s to kick in. To be fair, once best of 3 kick in, you do get more map
Might see a little bit more rotation.
Yeah,
as well.
Sky is the least played map so far, with only 2 plays at the competition, 3 including this game.
Yeah.
So I do think we'll see it a lot more
I think
playoffs.
Yeah, sometimes you get that with a map because teams don't really like playing it, but I think with Skyscraper, it's more that teams want to keep hold of it.
Sadly, in Best of Ones, you'll see this a lot, is the banning strategy is you ban away 4 maps that you're generally weak on, or 4 maps that your opponent are strong on. You end up with like a 4th, 5th prep map, which tends to be things like, you see quite a lot of Claw, a bit of Villa in the mix as well. Oregon falls in there. Chalet's quite a generalist map these days. You know, I'm kind of surprised at the amount of theme park we've seen. It's still our 3rd lowest played map, but still surprised it's in it a fair whack.
NIP not really being pushed about as of yet.
Ooh.
Still holding on to the top floor. We've got the
I mean, they've got one of my favourite lineups.
Who's in there?
Right?
Go for it, Des.
I was going to say the Azami, the Castle, the Aruni. Again, it's the 3 architects coming in here that just transform the way that sites get played. So a good way to straight SCARZ, I guess, coming into their last attacking round. This is definitely the way to do it.
Just going to burn through that laser gate there and give access on into Geisha, but Wizard is going to be holding for as long as possible. You know you love it, Des.
I love it.
I do it just to please you. I'm not saying that I put any extra on it when I say it or anything.
No, you definitely do.
I know I do.
100%. SCARZ then working their way in here. They've got the shrine control they need and still about 1.5 minutes to play with, so a lot of time. Not forgetting they've got to clear this top floor to then look at the site on the downstairs. Rek comes in again and finds himself another big kill moving forwards. Bushoy rounds the corner though, wasn't aware about Muzi or his position. Gets another shutdown here and Fishlike into his 2nd kill of the game. 3 versus 3 and looking a little bit ropey still. Muzi really stuck between a rock and a hard place here, or if you want to be more literal, gold and a grenade. Still manages to keep himself going as Rek falls down. This looks to be it, Tim.
Certainly does. Pino managing to get that kill to help Muzi out of dodge, and he's going to be able to escape. Put down as he tries. You just thought for a second that Pion might have something on the flank there, but ultimately Psycho shuts it down. NIP close out the round, they close out the game, and that is going to be NIP qualified through to our live finals here in Copenhagen.
A bit of a whimper out for the side of SCARZ, but I'm sure our Des have got a lot more to say about that. Back in a couple of minutes.
NIP qualify for phase 3 with a live audience, and we're joined by Pino for the interview. First of all, congratulations. You guys came through phase 1. You lost against 6 Karma, but now you're a completely new team. So how does it feel to be qualified for phase 3?
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah, it's been a long time since we qualified for a tournament, and now you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The vibes on the team is very good. So everybody's happy, everybody is understanding each other.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. Now we have to keep up the work and get ready for the playoffs and
Yeah.
maybe get on the final.
Maybe. Oh, I would love to see that. I mean, from phase 1 to the finals, that would be an incredible story. But you said it yourself, it feels like you guys are understanding each other better. Is that because you're all playing together on LAN? Has that had an impact on it?
Yeah, on Brazil, we played the last chance qualifiers on LAN. The vibes were great too.
Yeah.
That tournament, we flipped the switch, I think.
Okay.
Like, we finished the regular season on the last place. So it was a really bad season. Then we got to play the last chance qualifiers. We flipped the switch.
Yeah.
We managed to work like on a different manner. So it all worked perfectly, and we were very happy and hyped for the playoffs.
Yep, I can absolutely imagine. Speaking of LCQ, actually, that was the last time that you guys picked Skyscraper. We haven't seen SCARZ pick it since like stage 3 last year. So what was the thought process behind the map veto?
Yeah, we were expecting to play Clubhouse with them.
Okay.
They surprised us on the veto. So there was Bank and Skyscraper lefting, and Chubbs told me on the veto that Sky was their permaban. So
Okay.
I didn't hesitate. Just let's play Sky.
Okay, fair enough.
That was it.
Well, you have the playoffs now, and it's going to be a live audience. Is that what you're looking forward to the most? Is there something else you're looking forward to?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we played with crowd. The Invitational we won on 2021,
Yeah.
it didn't have a crowd, so it was not good. So it's gonna. Do you know how many people gonna be there?
I personally don't know, but at one point we will find out.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's
yeah.
going to be great. Andy. Thank you so much for the interview, and we'll see you with the live audience.
Thank you.
Thank you. They've done it. They are
did,
going to
yeah.
playoffs. I mean, you know, you guys were both actually agreeing on the fact that it was going to be NIP that are going to get through, and you're right, they did. So let's talk about what we've seen from them, because I think from phase 1 up until now, phase 2, they have just had consistency, and they've had so much confidence over the last couple of games.
Exactly, yeah, and especially on their attacks, they started out, they really took their sweet time, which sometimes worked out for them, sometimes it didn't. They had so much information coming out. You really saw them in those first few minutes, droning, making sure they know where their players are. They could find these entries. There were rounds where they also didn't find these entries, but then they had a really good recovery where they kept trading constantly. You could just see they were always taking those 2v1s. Even if they faced a loss in regards of player count, they could bring themselves back, and that's what helped them eventually win these rounds.
Yeah, it's great to see NIP back in front of a crowd. We'll get to see them this
Yes.
weekend. It's been so long, this legendary Oregon Rainbow Six Siege. They had a tough year last year, but now battling out against SCARZ, yeah, I think the expected result. They should feel very good with this win. Interesting to hear the thought process in the map ends as well. Them not expecting to come here. Obviously, we were a little bit shocked. It's not a very common map for either of these teams, but they said, screw it. It's their permaban. Let's take it to them. And I do think that kind of that inexperience, I don't think SCARZ were not prepped for this. I don't think SCARZ were like shocked to be playing this map. It felt like they had like default setups. They were playing the map in a way that they'd clearly practiced. Their Mira setups specifically on exhibition were pretty good. I really liked the way they were setting up those sites. Ultimately, though, just in the gunfights, if a good chunk of your team is not showing up, they're not hitting their shots in the server, it's tough to win no matter what your strats are.
Yeah, it felt like it was Rek and Tayu partially, or sorry, Rek and Pyeon kind of facing against the entirety of NIP on that lineup there. And as you mentioned, the Skyscraper a map that maybe these teams weren't necessarily expecting. To bring it out in the best of 1, it can be a bit of a difficulty if you have that other team starting out on defense. It is a big map. You have to clear a lot. You have to get a lot of information. And if NIP bring out these time stall setups where they have these operators like Castle, they have Aruni, Azami, it's all utility that you have to get through before you can get to the site, before you can do your roam clear. And this led to SCARZ sometimes having to face check multiple different corners. And if, NIP are winning their gunfights, it's going to be very difficult to win that out.
Surprise, they did win their gunfights, and one of the players really that was a standout performance was Pino here, and I know you wanna take this one away?
Yeah, I really want to highlight how Pino's been playing in his opening engagements, because I really do like the way he plays in the early game. I think he was the MVP coming in for the team today. First couple of rounds, he's playing below, right? He's got the depth charges going, and it works all right for him. The first round, he gets this grenade kill, great throw from him. The second round, he tries to play below as well, and he's not quite as successful. He's down here with the rest of his team. Most of his squad dies before he can even get active. aggressive. So after this round, he starts playing really well with his squads. Not so much on the entry for the majority of rounds, but really good at trading his teammates. Coming in now, 5v5, you see Rek gets a frag, Pino is right there, spots out where the guy's gonna be, sees him over in Geisha, misses a couple shots, but gets it in the end, finds a beautiful headshot. Round 4, the exact same situation. Throws in the flash, gets the trade, beautiful pick onto Black. Round 5, he tries the same thing. He's got the drone information, he peeks the window, Rek hits a nasty shot, so it doesn't really help him out. And then round number 6, Ping coming in from Cons, got that perfect information, swinging on the Dokkaebi. I talked about Wizards maybe being a great Doke for this team, and I do think that he is, but Pino today really also stepping up on that operator. Thought the early round was played fantastically and often gave NIP a huge advantage in those rounds.
You ever considered being like a caster?
Once upon a time, Jenny, once upon a time.
Exactly, and as you mentioned, Pino started adapting his kind of play style. It was more like the entire team was adapting their kind of play style. It felt like, for example, that round where they took the office breaches and they just had the thermites and the impacts that were working against them. They would rethink their whole strategy or the idea of what they would bring out. They had a really good read of the situation and what was needed to specifically counter SCARZ play style today.
All right, well, we're gonna send another team to phase 3 today, and it's gonna be Sonics up against Wolves for a shot to make it to that live audience. Coming up next.